Germany has over 1,000 castles, centuries-old towns, and forests so ancient they inspired the original Grimm fairy tales. But what if some of those stories weren't just fairy tales? What if the ghosts of tortured prisoners still wander inside medieval fortresses? What if abandoned hospitals still echo with the voices of patients who never left? And what if certain castles are visited by spirits that appear only before tragedy strikes? From cursed royal palaces to eerie Cold War ruins hidden in the forests of Berlin. Germany is filled with locations where history and the supernatural seem to overlap. In this video, we're counting down 15 of the most haunted places in Germany. Some of these stories are backed by centuries of legend. Others come from eyewitness encounters that still puzzle investigators today. So turn down the lights and let's step into some of the darkest places in Germany's past. 1. Burg Frankenstein, Darmstadt. High above the dark forests near Darmstadt, the crumbling silhouette of Burg Frankenstein rises from the hill like the bones of a forgotten giant. In daylight, it appears merely ancient weathered stone walls, broken towers, and narrow windows staring out across the valley. But as dusk settles and the forest below begins to whisper with wind and rustling leaves, the castle seems to awaken. For centuries, villagers have told stories about what happened behind these walls. Long before the castle fell into ruin, a mysterious alchemist named Johann Conrad Dippel was said to conduct disturbing experiments in its laboratories. Legends claim he searched for the secret of life itself, mixing strange chemicals, boiling animal parts, and attempting to transfer souls between bodies. The rumors spread far beyond Germany, and many believe these tales eventually inspired the dark imagination behind the story of Frankenstein's monster. Visitors who climb the hill at night often describe a strange unease the moment they step through the old gate. The wind whistles through broken corridors like distant breathing. Chains seem to rattle somewhere deep in the ruins, though no one is there. Some claim to see shadows moving along the castle walls, tall, distorted shapes that vanish the moment they are noticed. Others speak of a massive figure appearing briefly in the fog that rolls over the hill after midnight. It stands motionless near the collapsed laboratory tower before dissolving back into the mist. Perhaps it is only the imagination playing tricks in a place steeped in history and legend. But when the fog thickens around Burg Frankenstein, many visitors swear the castle is not as empty as it seems. 2. Wolfsegg Castle, Regensburg. Hidden among the quiet hills of Bavaria, the ancient walls of Wolfsegg Castle stand like a silent witness to a crime that refuses to be forgotten. From a distance, the castle appears almost peaceful, its pale stone towers rising above green forests and quiet villages. But those who know its history say the calm surrounding Wolfsegg hides something far darker. Centuries ago, the castle became the setting of a brutal betrayal. According to local legend, a noble countess who lived within these walls was murdered by members of her own family, who feared her growing power and influence. Her death was said to be violent and sudden, her blood spilled somewhere deep within the castle corridors. Since that night, the story claims, her spirit has never left. Visitors exploring the castle after sunset often describe an overwhelming feeling of being watched. The hallways grow unnaturally cold, and doors that once stood open suddenly slam shut without warning. Some explorers claim they became disoriented, walking the same corridors again and again, as if the castle itself was trapping them inside a maze. But the most terrifying stories come from those who claim to have seen her. They describe a pale woman drifting through the castle halls, her long gown stained dark as though soaked with blood. Her face is said to be twisted with grief and rage. Witnesses say she slowly moves toward the old stone well in the castle courtyard, a place where, according to legend, the bones of the dead were once discovered. And sometimes, late at night, visitors swear they can hear her screams echoing through the empty castle. 3. Belitz Heilstätten Hospital, Belitz. Deep within the forest southwest of Berlin stands the vast, decaying complex of Belitz Heilstätten, a place where medicine, war, and tragedy left behind more than just abandoned buildings. Once one of Germany's largest hospital complexes, its red brick pavilions and long glass corridors were originally built in the late 19th century to treat tuberculosis patients seeking fresh forest air and recovery. For a time, it was considered a place of healing, but history had other plans. During the First World War, the hospital became a military treatment center for wounded soldiers. One of its most famous patients was a young corporal who would later become Adolf Hitler, treated here in 1916 after being injured in battle. Decades later, during the Second World War, the complex again filled with wounded soldiers as the war consumed Europe. As the years passed, Belitz Heilstätten slowly fell into abandonment. Roofs collapsed, windows shattered, and nature began reclaiming the once orderly hospital wards. Yet many visitors say the place never truly emptied. Urban explorers and paranormal investigators who enter the crumbling buildings often report an unsettling silence, broken only by distant footsteps echoing through empty hallways. Flickering lights sometimes appear in rooms long disconnected from electricity. Some claim to hear slow, labored breathing coming from the darkened surgical theaters. Others say they have seen shadowy figures moving past broken doorways, patients in old hospital gowns, or soldiers wandering aimlessly through the corridors where they once fought for their lives. Whether these sightings are imagination or something more remains uncertain. But when night falls over the ruins of Belitz Heilstätten, the abandoned hospital feels less like a relic of history and more like a place where its past still walks the halls. 4. Fraueninsel Castle, Berlin. In the quiet waters of the Havel River, just outside Berlin, lies a small island known as Fraueninsel Peacock Island. During the day, it appears almost like a scene from a fairy tale. Tall trees sway gently in the breeze. Peacocks wander freely across grassy paths, and at the center of the island stands a delicate white castle that seems more like a romantic dream than a fortress. But when night falls, the island's peaceful beauty begins to feel strangely unsettling. The castle itself was built in the late 18th century as a royal retreat for the Prussian court. Its elegant towers and narrow balconies were meant to evoke the charm of medieval romance. Yet long before the palace was constructed, darker stories were already tied to this place. One legend centers around Johann Kunkel, an alchemist who once conducted experiments nearby in the 17th century. Kunkel was said to be obsessed with transforming metals into gold and discovering forbidden chemical secrets. When his laboratory was destroyed by fire, rumors spread that he had angered forces beyond human understanding. Visitors to Fraueninsel sometimes claim that on quiet nights, a strange glow can be seen in the castle's upper windows. Some say it is only moonlight reflecting off the glass. Others insist they have seen a pair of red eyes staring out from the darkness. Yet Kunkel's spirit may not be the only presence here. Local folklore also tells of a mysterious dark lady who wanders the island paths after midnight. She appears beautiful and silent, luring curious wanderers toward the edge of the river. Those who follow her too closely often report hearing splashes in the water, though when they look again, the woman is gone, leaving only ripples in the black water. 5. Hohenzollern Castle, Hichingen. Rising dramatically above the clouds on the summit of Mount Hohenzollern, the towering fortress of Hohenzollern Castle looks like something torn from the pages of a dark fairy tale. Its tall spires and massive stone walls dominate the landscape of Baden-Württemberg, visible for miles across the countryside. During the day, the castle attracts visitors from around the world who come to admire its beauty and royal history. But after sunset, the atmosphere inside the fortress begins to feel very different. Hohenzollern Castle has been the ancestral seat of the powerful Hohenzollern dynasty for centuries. Kings, princes, and emperors once walked its halls. With so many generations tied to the castle, it is perhaps not surprising that one particular spirit has become part of its legend. The mysterious White Lady. According to centuries of stories, the White Lady is believed to be the ghost of a noble ancestor whose tragic life ended within the royal family. Dressed in a flowing pale gown, she is said to appear quietly in the castle corridors, gliding through halls long after the torches have gone dark. What makes her presence even more unsettling is the timing of her appearances. Throughout history, members of the Hohenzollern family claim that the White Lady appeared shortly before major tragedies, deaths, wars, or political disasters that would soon follow. Her mournful cries were sometimes heard echoing through the castle during the night, warning of misfortune yet to come. Some visitors today say the castle feels strangely alive after dark. Footsteps echo through empty halls. The faint sound of music or distant conversation drifts from banquet rooms, that stand completely deserted, as if a royal feast from centuries past is still unfolding somewhere just beyond sight. 6. Spandau Citadel, Berlin. On the western edge of Berlin, surrounded by the slow waters of the River Havel, stands the massive fortress known as Spandau Citadel. Built in the 16th century, its thick stone walls and towering battlements once served as one of the most important military strongholds in the region. From a distance, the citadel appears impressive and historic, a perfect example of Renaissance military architecture. But inside its ancient walls lies a darker history. For centuries, Spandau Citadel functioned not only as a fortress, but also as a prison. Deep beneath its towers were cold, narrow cells where prisoners were locked away, sometimes for years. Many were criminals, but others were political enemies, rebels, or people accused of crimes they never committed. Torture was common, and executions were carried out within the fortress grounds. Local legends claim that not all of those souls ever left. Visitors who walk through the old prison chambers often describe an oppressive silence, broken only by the faint echo of their own footsteps. Some report hearing scratching sounds coming from behind the thick cell doors, as if someone inside is desperately trying to claw their way out. Others claim that during certain nights, especially when the full moon hangs over the citadel towers, strange metallic sounds echo through the corridors. The clanging of chains, the creaking of iron doors, and sometimes the heavy thud of footsteps where no one is walking. A few witnesses even say they have glimpsed shadowy figures moving across the courtyard, disappearing behind stone walls that have stood for hundreds of years. Whether imagination or something more, the atmosphere inside Spandau Citadel leaves many visitors with the same uneasy thought. Some prisons may close their doors, but their prisoners never truly leave. 7. Lichtenegg Castle, Scheinfeld, Bavaria. Hidden among the quiet countryside of Bavaria, the old stone walls of Lichtenegg Castle rise above the forests near the small town of Scheinfeld. At first glance, the castle seems peaceful, its towers overlooking rolling hills and farmland that stretch toward the horizon. Birds circle above the rooftops, and the wind moves softly through the surrounding trees. But beneath that calm exterior lies a history that many locals prefer not to talk about. Centuries ago, during one of Europe's darkest periods, the region around Lichtenegg became deeply entangled in the fear and hysteria of the witch hunts. Accusations spread quickly through villages, and people were dragged before courts on little more than rumors or superstition. Some were imprisoned within the castle walls, interrogated, and eventually executed. According to legend, one woman accused of witchcraft was sentenced to death at Lichtenegg. She was hanged within sight of the castle towers, proclaiming her innocence until her final breath. The story says that before she died, she cursed those who condemned her. Since that time, strange disturbances have been reported inside the castle. Visitors sometimes claim that objects move without explanation, doors swinging open, chairs shifting across the floor, or stones suddenly falling from walls. Others report hearing faint whispers echoing through the corridors, sounding almost like fragments of old incantations carried by the wind. The most chilling stories, however, come from those who say they felt something tighten around their neck while exploring the castle grounds. An invisible pressure, like the sudden pull of a rope, most quickly leave after that. Because at Lichtenegg Castle, some believe the past still refuses to let go. 8. Löwenberg Castle. Castle. Deep within the rolling hills of Wilhelmshöhe Park near Kassel stands the dramatic silhouette of Löwenberg Castle. With its broken towers, weathered walls, and ivy-covered ruins, it looks like a fortress that has survived countless medieval battles. Visitors often assume it has stood for hundreds of years, guarding the forests around it since the age of knights and kings. But Löwenberg is not quite what it seems. The castle was actually built in the late 18th century for Wilhelm IX, the Landgrave of Hesse-Kassel. Rather than constructing a new palace, he ordered the creation of a romantic ruined castle designed to resemble a medieval fortress that had already endured centuries of history. Even when it was first built, parts of it were intentionally left looking damaged and ancient. Yet strangely, the castle soon began to gather legends of its own. Some visitors exploring the quiet battlements at dusk report hearing the distant echo of clashing swords, as if unseen knights were fighting somewhere beyond the walls. Others claim they hear armored footsteps pacing along the stone walkways high above the park. According to local folklore, the spirit most often associated with the castle is that of its builder himself. It is said that Wilhelm's restless shade sometimes wanders the battlements, silently observing the castle. He created a place designed to imitate the past, yet somehow becoming haunted by it. Witnesses describe seeing a dark figure standing briefly on the towers before fading into the evening mist. And on certain quiet nights, when the wind moves through the broken arches of Löwenberg, the sound can almost resemble distant battle cries, as though a war that never happened is still being fought in the shadows of the castle. 9. Teufelsberg, Devil's Mountain, Berlin. Rising unexpectedly above the flat landscape of Berlin stands a strange artificial hill known as Teufelsberg, Devil's Mountain. From a distance, its white radar domes look almost like giant, watchful eyes staring across the city skyline. Today, the structures sit abandoned, their torn surfaces flapping in the wind like ghosts trapped inside enormous cages. But the story of Teufelsberg begins long before the Cold War. After the Second World War, Berlin was buried beneath millions of tons of war rubble. To clear the devastated city, the debris was slowly piled into massive hills on the outskirts of town. Teufelsberg became the largest of them. Beneath its layers of broken bricks and shattered stone lies the buried remains of a Nazi military academy that was too heavily damaged to rebuild. Many of the workers who helped create the hill were forced laborers, prisoners compelled to move the ruins of a destroyed city, one load at a time. Years later, during the Cold War, the United States built a secret listening station on the summit. From inside the giant radar domes, intelligence officers monitored Soviet communications across Eastern Europe. Today, the station is silent, yet many visitors claim the place is far from empty. People exploring the abandoned complex often report hearing strange echoes carried by the wind whispers, distant cries, or footsteps inside the empty radar towers. Some even claim to see shadowy figures moving through the shattered structures, like soldiers or workers wandering a place where their lives once intersected. And when the wind spins through the torn radar domes, it produces a low, haunting hum, a sound that makes Teufelsberg feel less like a hill and more like a memory that refuses to stay buried. 10. Heidelberg Castle, Heidelberg. High above the charming city of Heidelberg, overlooking the Neckar River, the grand ruins of Heidelberg Castle stand as one of Germany's most famous landmarks. Its red sandstone walls glow warmly in the sunlight, and during the day, the castle feels almost magical, a romantic monument to centuries of history, art, and royal life. But when evening falls and the tourists leave, the atmosphere around the castle begins to change. Heidelberg Castle has witnessed wars, fires, and destruction over hundreds of years. Once the proud residence of the electors of the Palatinate, it was partially destroyed during the 30 Years' War, and later heavily damaged by lightning strikes and French attacks in the 17th century. What remains today are beautiful ruins, arches, towers, and courtyards that seem frozen in time. Yet among these quiet ruins, one legend has survived longer than the castle's royal dynasty. Locals speak of a mysterious spirit known as the White Lady. According to tradition, she was once a noblewoman whose love story ended in tragedy within the castle walls. Some say she died of heartbreak, while others believe betrayal and political intrigue sealed her fate. Whatever the truth may be, her presence is said to linger. Visitors wandering through the castle after dusk sometimes report strange disturbances. Lights flicker in rooms that should be empty. Soft footsteps echo across the stone floors. In the quiet courtyard, some claim they have heard the faint rustle of fabric, as if someone in a long gown had just passed behind them. And occasionally, witnesses say they have glimpsed a pale figure drifting silently along the castle ruins. A woman dressed in white, still searching the halls of Heidelberg Castle long after her story ended. 11. Babenhausen Barracks, Babenhausen. On the quiet outskirts of the small German town of Babenhausen stands an aging military complex that once housed thousands of soldiers, known as Babenhausen Barracks. The site served both German and later American military forces during the turbulent decades of the 20th century. Rows of plain brick buildings, empty training grounds, and long silent hallways remain as reminders of its long service. But according to those who once lived and worked here, the The barracks may have inherited something far older than its military history. Soldiers stationed at Babenhausen over the years have shared stories that sound more like ghost tales than military reports. Many describe hearing unexplained footsteps echoing through empty hallways late at night. Doors would sometimes open slowly on their own, and lights would flicker without warning in otherwise quiet rooms. One of the most unsettling legends involves the barracks' old telephone lines. Some soldiers claimed that when they answered certain late-night calls, they heard strange voices whispering through the receiver. The words sounded distorted and unnatural, as if someone were speaking backward from somewhere far away. But perhaps the most chilling story connected to Babenhausen is the legend of a mysterious woman, believed by some to be a witch from centuries past. According to folklore, she appears late at night near the barracks grounds, luring curious soldiers with a soft voice and an eerie laugh. Those who claim to hear her say, the laughter echoed through the empty buildings long after she vanished. Skeptics say these stories are simply the imagination of tired soldiers working long shifts. Yet even today, some visitors say the silence at Babenhausen barracks feels as if someone, or something, is still listening. 12. Eltz Castle, Wirschem. Hidden deep within the forests of western Germany, surrounded by steep hills and winding rivers, stands one of the most breathtaking castles in Europe. Eltz Castle. Rising from the mist like something out of a medieval legend, its tall towers, pointed roofs, and narrow windows have watched over the quiet valley for more than 800 years. Unlike many other castles across Germany, Eltz was never destroyed by war. For centuries, it remained in the hands of the same noble family, passing from one generation to the next. Yet within those centuries of family history, rivalries, disputes, and bitter feuds slowly became part of the castle's legacy. According to local folklore, not all of those conflicts ended peacefully. Visitors who explore the castle's ancient halls sometimes describe a strange tension in the air, especially in the oldest sections of the structure. The stone corridors feel colder than expected, and sounds travel oddly through the narrow passageways. Some witnesses claim that late at night, when the castle grows quiet and the surrounding forest fills with drifting fog, faint metallic sounds echo through the halls. The clanging of armor, the scrape of swords, footsteps of unseen warriors moving across stone floors. A few visitors even claim to have glimpsed shadowy figures dressed in medieval armor, appearing briefly at the ends of corridors before fading into the darkness. Legends say these apparitions may be the restless spirits of knights from an ancient family conflict, men who fought and died defending their honor within the castle walls. Whether imagination or lingering history, the mist around Eltz Castle sometimes feels thick with echoes of battles long past, as though somewhere inside the ancient fortress, the feud has never truly ended. 13. Quedlinburg Abbey. Quedlinburg, overlooking the historic town of Quedlinburg in Saxony, Anhalt, stands the ancient complex of Quedlinburg Abbey, a place steeped in more than 1,000 years of history. Its massive stone church and surrounding cloisters rise above the town, like a silent guardian of the past. During the day, visitors walk its quiet courtyards and admire the remarkable architecture that dates back to the early medieval era. But as night falls, the abbey's peaceful appearance begins to feel strangely unsettling. Founded in the 10th century, Quedlinburg Abbey was once home to a powerful community of noblewomen who lived under strict religious rule. Within its thick stone walls, generations of nuns spent their lives in prayer, discipline, and silence. Their chants once echoed through the halls during long nightly services that lasted until dawn. Over time, however, darker stories began to circulate. One legend speaks of a powerful abbess who ruled the abbey with greed and cruelty. According to folklore, she secretly hoarded treasures and punished anyone who dared question her authority. When she died, rumors spread that her restless spirit remained behind, guarding the riches she refused to surrender. Visitors who explore the abbey after sunset sometimes report hearing strange echoes drifting through the empty corridors. What begins as the faint sound of distant chanting slowly changes into something far more unsettling: desperate cries that seem to rise from the darkness. Some say that anyone who attempts to steal from the abbey or disturb its ancient relics risks provoking the abbess's curse. Witnesses have even claimed that their bodies suddenly froze in place, unable to move for several terrifying moments, as if an unseen guardian was reminding them that some treasures were never meant to be taken. Plassenburg Castle, Kulmbach. High above the Bavarian town of Kulmbach, the massive walls of Plassenburg Castle stretch across the hilltop like a stone crown overlooking the valley below. For centuries, this formidable fortress served as a strategic stronghold and noble residence, surviving wars, fires, and political upheaval. Its thick walls and towering gates were built to withstand armies. But even the strongest fortresses cannot escape the weight of history. And according to legend, Plassenburg may also be haunted by something that no walls can contain. The castle has long been associated with the powerful Hohenzollern family, one of the most influential dynasties in German history. Generations of rulers lived, governed, and sometimes died within its halls. Over time, whispers began to spread about a mysterious apparition that appeared not only at Plassenburg, but at several castles connected to the Hohenzollern lineage. Locals refer to this ghost simply as the White Lady. The figure is said to appear as a pale woman, dressed in flowing white robes, moving silently through corridors or along the castle battlements. Unlike many ghost stories, the legend of the White Lady carries a disturbing pattern. Throughout history, members of the Hohenzollern family claimed that her appearance often preceded tragedy, illness, death, or political disaster soon followed. Visitors exploring the castle today sometimes describe strange sensations in certain hallways. Cold drafts appear where there are no open windows, and quiet footsteps seem to echo behind them when no one else is nearby. A few even claim to have glimpsed a pale figure standing briefly in the shadows of the stone corridors. And then, just as suddenly, she is gone, leaving behind only silence and a lingering sense that the castle may be watching its visitors just as closely as they are watching it. 15. Hansa coking plant. Dortmund. In the industrial outskirts of Dortmund stands a massive complex of rusting steel towers, pipes, and silent machinery known as the Hansa coking plant. At first glance, it looks like a monument to Germany's powerful industrial past, an enormous network of metal structures once used to transform coal into coke for the steel industry. Today, however, the factory stands quiet, its machines frozen in time. Built in the 1920s, the Hansa coking plant was once one of the most advanced industrial facilities in the region. It replaced several smaller, outdated plants across Dortmund, symbolizing the rapid modernization of Germany's coal and steel industry. At its peak, the plant produced more than 5.0 tons of coke every single day, and hundreds of workers moved through its towering machinery around the clock. But industrial progress rarely stands still. By 1992, the facility itself became obsolete and was shut down, replaced by a newer and more efficient plant. The enormous industrial complex was abandoned, leaving behind a maze of silent ovens, steel bridges, and long rusted pipelines stretching across the site. One of the most striking sights is a narrow body of water running through the complex. The still surface reflects the towering structures around it like a mirror, creating an eerie scene where the past seems suspended between reality and reflection. Today, parts of the site are preserved as an industrial monument, and visitors can walk along designated paths, while former workers guide tours through the old facilities. Yet when the wind moves through the rusted pipes and empty towers, the plant sometimes produces strange metallic echoes, a haunting reminder that even machines can seem to remember the people who once kept them alive. Places like these always leave me with the same question. Are we just fascinated by ghost stories? Or are we sensing something that history left behind? Castles, hospitals, prisons, these places witnessed real events, real lives, and sometimes real tragedies. And maybe that's why their stories continue to stay with us long after the buildings themselves grow quiet. For me, exploring these places isn't just about ghosts. It's about understanding the past and the strange mysteries that come with it. But I'd really like to hear what you think. Which location in this video gave you the creepiest feeling? And would you ever visit any of these haunted places yourself? Let me know down in the comments. I always enjoy reading your thoughts and stories. And if you enjoy these kinds of eerie journeys through history, feel free to stay with the channel for the next one. There are still many mysterious places around the world waiting for us to explore together.